Jesus.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas indeed. Apart from this is probably going to be shown at the end of January.
Yeah, it will be, yeah.
So we've done Christmas, even though I haven't had any presents yet.
But we would have done by the time this is.
Well, yeah, but I haven't.
No, okay.
Okay. I want to talk about language, the manipulation of humans by the different nuances in language.
Okay.
There's a very easy thing to look at, right, when you're looking at something like this, which is like indoctrination, which is like where you've got a cult.
Yep.
And some guy has the charisma, but also the right nuances of language to influence a congregation of people who are looking for change.
Yep.
And maybe even salvation, because they're afraid of the situation they're in. They're afraid of not having a support system, or they have literally suffered a loss of God. Now, a loss of God doesn't mean, you know, I'm no longer a Christian. It just means they've got no faith in anything.
Okay, yep.
Even themselves. So therefore they are looking at, like Jimmy Jones, for instance, the guy who was in America, took them all out into Africa, built a farm, made them all work, and then ended up making them kill themselves by drinking Kool-Aid poisoned with arsenic.
Okay.
Now, you have to ask yourself two questions, right? Sitting there as yourself. One is, why the hell would you listen to him? Mm-hmm. And two, why the hell would you listen to him? Now, that might seem like one question, but the question is so important that really it takes two looks. Right, so firstly, the reason you follow this man is because you believe what he is saying.
Yep.
So he is either the best salesman on the block, or he is a hand-me-down of God, somebody who has been given divine right to talk in God's name, God being whatever that is for you. So Jimmy Jones looked for people who were separated from society, yeah, people who had lost community. There's that word all the time. But it's true. You lose community, you have no backup. Therefore, you become vulnerable and you listen to people who seem to be speaking in sentences. You know, someone who actually speaks to you.
Yep. Okay.
So I think the importance of this and why I'm doing a show on it about it is that all of us every day talk to each other, right?
Yep.
But we talk to each other in different ways, right? So if we're friends, we're just communicating. We're just saying what's going on, what's happening in your world, where it's going. And we're not usually trying to sell anything, talk up anything. Or if we are, we're talking on an equal level. So we're not hiding anything. Now, if I'm an advertising salesman, I need to know what I need to say, what pressure points people in business are triggered by. So I can phone you up, say, I've got this for sale, do you want to buy it? And you'll go, no. But if I'm an advertising salesman, I've got this deal, okay? It costs a bit of money, but by the end of it, you'll have at least a 20% uptake in your client base. Your conversion rate will go through the roof, and then you'll be able to afford those things that you've always really wanted but never quite achieved. Okay, so that means I have given you something that, costs, but we've glanced over that. I've given you a way to enhance your business.
Yeah.
I've given you another way to transfer a lot of the talk into money by conversion.
Yep.
Why, as a business owner, would you not believe that? Well, usually because they're lying to you. But if you don't know that they're lying to you, or you desperately need to have that business boosted, or anything, you desperately need to belong, you desperately need to find peace, you desperately need something, and somebody says the right words at the right time,
then you're drawn in, aren't you? Because they're promising what you want.
Have you ever in your life come across someone who's so believable and says the right things, but actually turned out to be a shower of shit? Somebody who was just completely not there for you.
I can't think of someone off the top of my head, but I know of people that, they talk a great game and you get drawn into it. So there's an example. So years ago, when I was, 19, 20 years old, I guess, Rob, one of my closest mates, someone he was working with said, "Oh, you got to go to this," and I guess this is a classic example of it: the networking, pyramid selling stuff. Right?
Ah, yes.
So we went up to London to some hotel to this this presentation on. It was called Fizz Whiz, right? And it was a square box, like a cube that you had in your kitchen, and it was like a soda stream, but I guess cross between a soda stream and the drinks dispensers you get in Nando's or whatever, right? You actually
So
it
you
had
could
all
go.
of, yeah. So you had 3 flavours in the back, whatever flavours you wanted, but it was instant dispensation of a fizzy drink rather than the soda stream putting the thing in, and right. And so we watched this presentation for an hour and a half or something, and I guess it's the classic thing which most people will know about now, but we didn't really know about at the time, of they wheel a guy out who says, well, you know, I started with nothing and I've now got a helicopter and a yacht and all this stuff. And all it takes is, you know, you just spread the word to 10 people and they spread the word to 10 people and blah, blah, blah. And fortunately, I thought, right, at the end of the presentation, I was going, oh my God, we're going to be millionaires, right? And so I went with Dave and Rob and one of Rob's mates and Justin, another one of my friends. And Rob and Justin, it was one of these things, right, if you're going to do it, you've got to sign up today, right? And I was like, there's something about it. It's almost too good to be true. But Rob and Justin signed up, right? And they signed up and you had to buy 3 machines up front and all this stuff. And then they spent the next 6 months trying to sell these things.
Just out of interest, how much was a machine? Can you remember?
I honestly can't remember.
No.
40 quid or something, probably. Not a huge amount
It wasn't
of money.
a big amount of money.
But at that time, I guess we were 18, 19, we weren't earning a huge amount of money. And this is, whatever, late 90s, I suppose. So it wasn't an inordinate. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was still, you know, it wasn't just, you know, beer money.
Yeah.
But the whole place was absolutely buzzing at what these people had said and how easy it was, and yeah, everyone got taken in, and I reckon probably half the people there signed up.
Right.
So I have witnessed it where people you just get swept along with the way that they're selling it. And I guess that's the secret of good sales, isn't it? Is that you sell the dream and you sell the vision. You're not necessarily selling the product itself.
You do everything but sell the product.
Yeah.
Because the product doesn't need selling. That does it itself.
Yeah.
But the lifestyle that you get from this amazing opportunity that I'm giving to you, and I'm going to give you this amazing opportunity free. All you got to do is buy 3 machines.
Yeah.
Now, those 3 machines, that's going to cost you 120 quid. By the time you've showed this to 20 restaurants or 20 home nails, you're going to find that it will go, oh man, I could do that all fucking day.
Yeah.
Right? Now,
In fact, sorry, we've done that recently with.
Have we?
No, not we.
Are they coming for us?
Do you know Thermomix? Do you know what a Thermomix is?
No.
Thermomix is a kitchen machine, right? It's basically a very expensive food mixer, right?
Okay.
Lots of restaurants in Michelin restaurants have got them. These days they are now come with an app, right? And it tells you when to put the stuff in. You can make an amazing risotto with it, right? Just by putting the ingredients in this mixer. It's quite big, but they say you can cook everything in it. We went to a presentation recently, and a mate of mine that used to work with has got one and has had one for years. And he said, once you've got one, they are incredible. They cook all sorts of stuff. They're brilliant. But he said, you will get taken in by the spiel. Don't buy one at the end of it. He said, because you might regret it. So go and think about it, and then you'll probably decide not to buy one. But this woman said, the reason I thought that, this woman said during the presentation, you know, I don't need to tell you how brilliant it is. It does sell itself. And their approach is amazing. You can buy one outright for $2,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or I think it's something like if you sell 4 of them, you get your one for free.
Oh.
Right?
Ha ha ha.
So you think, well, I must better sell 4 of those. And the same thing, right? It was a great presentation.
Right.
But
So you're an average, not you, obviously, because that wouldn't be fitting, but you're an everyday Joe who wants one of these but has no $2,000, right? You go and try and sell a $2,000 kitchen appliance when you are a car mechanic, but you've been sold the dream because the dream is the machine. So at no point does anyone actually tell you what it does, how it works, anything, apart from this one promo video, presumably about.
well, there's a woman.
Does.
It was actually a presentation for like an hour in someone's kitchen, and she does actually make stuff during the presentation.
But does she explain how it works? Does she explain what it does? Does she explain, or does she just show you this amazing cooking experience?
She shows you the experience, yeah.
Selling the dream.
Yeah.
Always
and everything
selling the dream.
that anyone said, she had an answer for instantly. So Nikki said, well, I'm a rubbish cook. Well, it's made for you. And then someone said, well, I'm a very good cook. Well, it's made for you too. It's made for everybody. And it's
made
like,
for all.
And it's
An
just,
all-encompassing risotto-making machine.
but if I hadn't had that previous conversation with a workmate of mine, where he sort of warned me and said, the presentation will blow your mind. He said it is incredible when you watch it and you think, actually, I could get rid of the microwave and I could get rid of the cooker and I could do all my cooking in that and it will save space and it blah, 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 blah. He said, you will get drawn in. I have no doubt. And we did.
I've got 2 words for you. Slow cooker. 30 quid, does the same shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the sales technique, right?
Yep.
So then you've got like the explanation of using narrative for persuasion. So words to influence is called rhetoric, right? Mm-hmm. That's what rhetoric is. But you have people who can manipulate susceptible people by using propaganda, indoctrination, radicalization, all of that. But there's got to be something recognized in that person, i.e. perceived weakness, loss of love, so i.e. no family, no significant other, no backup, or somebody who is furious with the system they've been betrayed by. Mm-hmm. So radicalization is the easiest one, right? So you go to, say, okay, I'm just going to use a teenager, right? Who a little bit enamored with weapons, grown up watching Rambo, me basically, and this person has been let down by society, right? You do your exams and you get through, then you're going to be this, this, and this. He's done his exams, he's failed them all. He's not paying attention to the fact that he didn't do any work and actually didn't give a shit, but he was present. But you promised me. So schools are selling you a dream.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's kind of horrific if you think about it. Because legally, every child has to go to school or be homeschooled. But there has to be a tick box.
Yep.
But then they're selling you a dream that if you have no propensity to get to, you're never going to win. I failed my A-levels because I left Haileybury, went to Maida Vale College of Further Education, right? And I was a bit of a dick, as you can imagine, but I knew that I had an intelligence level. I got 2 U's and an N, which is a nearly, fuck's sake, on my thing, but I got 98% in the biology A-level coursework and 97% in the chemistry coursework, which by default means I should have got a D.
Yep.
But I didn't. And we didn't question it because my face did not fit into that college because I'm a public school boy with an attitude and a brain. Everyone thought I was a dick. So the guy, I always remember the English teacher in there, right? Now, bearing in mind, I was an A-grade student my whole way through English, all the way through. And Nick Jardine was my teacher at Haileybury. He's probably dead now, bless him. But he and I had a bit of an affinity. He was friends with my dad, but he just said, "Look, you've got no problems with this. If you go to this college, you'll be all right because you know it all." So I wrote. I think I might have mentioned this before. I wrote an essay about King Lear and King Lear's influence by God and all of these things. And then I handed the same essay in to the guy that I got an A for at Haileybury because it was the same thing. And I handed it in to this guy at Maida Vale College of Further Education. Don't remember his name because I couldn't give a fuck. And he basically, I didn't have the audacity to hand the marked one in. I did actually rewrite it. But he turned around and said, "Well, you see, you've totally missed the point. And your excessive use of God and the explanation of religion to influence King Lear is just rubbish. And you missed the point, so I gave you a D." And at that point, I went, "Congratulations." And he went, "What?" I said, "You've lost me completely. There's no point in me being in this room because I have no respect for you and you think I'm a dick. So see you later." And left. Never went back, didn't bother, didn't care. I remember this girl running out of the class. Teresa, her name was. I think she was one of life's do-gooders, bless her, but in a Christian type way. And she went, "You can't leave. You'll ruin your life."
But I love you, Jim.
No, she didn't say that.
Okay.
No, she had kids at college.
Oh, okay.
And her boyfriend was a hippie guy who I remember buying dope off. So, useful. Which is weird because I didn't smoke dope. I can't remember why the fuck I had it. Anyway, look, shush. It's not about that.
No.
So what I'm telling you is that in public school, I wrote an A grade paper and I did it myself and I wrote it. That's why I handed it in again, because I wrote it. I didn't copy it. I didn't do anything. Right. But in this place, those words didn't fit that man's narrative. Now, I have no idea if my explanation of King Lear was right or not. But at a school where you have to pay £1 trillion to sit on a chair, I got an A. In a place where you probably had to be paid to go, I got a D.
Yeah.
That's got to be all about what was written down, right? The language of it. So in one setting, I was persuasive. I was erudite. I was able to put forward my ideals. In the second place, I was non-communicative, muddled ideas, not in a place that was believable, because I did not write in his language. Now, just that little thing shows you the importance of communicating to your audience.
Yeah.
So we don't have an audience per se for this. This is just whoever watches it. And if you enjoy it, amazing. And if you don't, amazing. Say so. Tell us why, so we can learn from it.
Yep.
We were talking to the policeman.
Yep.
Tom. Remembered his name this time. Sorry, mate.
Good man.
He was entirely engaging and believable. And I wanted to talk to him.
Yeah.
He'd been through hell and back, but was surprisingly normal. By normal, I don't mean, blah, blah, normal, but he was just a man who'd been through some shit and dealt with it so well in the end, but had gone through this journey. Now, his ability to portray his life and his ideas and what he had to live for was amazing. It had nothing to do with me interviewing him. It was everything to do with him and our reaction to him, which caused us to converse easily and quickly, and that show went like that.
Yeah, because it's honest and truthful, isn't it? And you wouldn't want to sit and talk to a salesman for 45 minutes, would you?
But that's because you and I understand the value of truth. But here's a concept that's fucked. What might be truth to us won't be truth to somebody else.
No.
Because they're either, their cynicism has taken over. Their belief systems are ruptured. So anyone who talks to them, they would just dismiss it.
Yeah, well, there's various psychological studies, aren't there, that put you into one of generally 4 categories. There's one that I did at a place of work a few years ago, where you were either red, green, blue or yellow, depending on your characteristics.
That's very colourist.
Yeah, and you answered all these questions. They ask you these structured questions.
Yeah.
And you have to give which answer most suits your response. Right?
Yep.
There'll be like 4 answers in each one. And off the back of that, I'll send it to you actually. It's about a 10-page document that explains my character. And it is scary how accurate it is.
Right.
But the basic principles of it are things like, I'm a detail person, right? So when I write an email, it is very detailed. Some people will get to the end of the first sentence and aren't detail people and just not even read the rest of it. And the whole thing is about, it split the whole, there's like 15, 16 of us, and we did the survey and then it split us into groups. And everyone was like, generally, oh yeah, it makes sense that we're in the same group because we're the detail people, and it makes sense that they're in the same group because they're the customer-facing, cosy, put their arm around you kind of people. And then you have managers in another group, and each person you could see this general characteristic, but then randomly you get one person going, what the bloody are they doing with me?
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously it's an average across it. But the assessment goes over many pages, as I say, and it is unbelievable, having just answered these, whatever it was, 20 different questions. And the whole point was that it was a whole day. Can't remember what the actual process was called, but I can find out. And at the end of it said, okay, so if you can establish which of those 4 types are in your team, we can also help you tell you how to communicate with people that aren't your colour, right? So at work, there's a guy I work directly with who we're basically separated at birth at the way that we approach stuff, and I know that he would be the same colour as me.
Yeah.
But it says if you know you're emailing someone that you know isn't a detail person, then some bullet point at the top, your key points, and say, if you want the detail, it's below. And then they won't read that, but they will at least get the salient points and won't get bored after the first sentence and stop reading it. So there is a huge amount of, I guess it's psychoanalysis or something that defines how to communicate between the four different groups.
Yeah.
As a like a team building exercise. That was the whole point of the day. It was like we can identify they're the reds, they're the greens, they're the yellows, they're the blues, and we'll tell you how to help you different people communicate. And then you find, those two people are clashing heads all the time, and it's because they're different colours, and therefore they're coming at a topic from a completely different perspective.
Can we get hold of that?
Yeah. I've got
questions and all.
I don't know if I've got the questions. I've got the study, and in fact, Rachel, that I spoke to you about, she knows all about how it all works. And
I'd like to run an experiment. I know this is probably bollocks, but I'd like to run an experiment. We'll get like 10 people or something.
I think you can pay to do it independently, or as companies do it regularly. As a consultant came in from the company,
but there's a problem with the word pay.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we can work.
Smingle is what we need to do. I mean, okay. So answer me this: why did a little offset vegetarian artist in Germany who had some pretty serious political leanings, how was he able to go from that, almost broke, almost destitute, to running Germany, influencing a country to turn against the rest of the world and the Jewish nation? How does that happen? That's communication at its highest level.
Christ, it is, yeah.
Right. So, do you know, well, I mean, I know the answer.
Okay.
So, Germany in a whole was in a slump after the First World War. There was no hope. If you can sell a dream of yours on a third party's hope, you can do anything. So he then gave them, he said, look, all we need to do is fight back, stand up, be proud, be Germans, do this. What we don't need to do is we don't need to listen to the rest of the people who put limitations on us. So follow me and I'll take you there. So that's why he invaded Poland, to give them a win, which actually they didn't need, because that whole situation was bullshit. But he then, from that win, just took over. It's astounding that people don't take him, and maybe, hopefully they do, take him as a case study in communication and lunacy, and how the human ego can be so driven that they are totally convinced that they are right. I don't think Hitler was even aware of how fucked up his system was. He had an agenda. He knew how to manipulate, so he did.
Doesn't that apply generally to narcissists as well? That's just the way they work. They don't see that they're...
Well, they don't see any negative to themselves.
Yeah, I never really quite know if I believe that or not. But that's the thought, is that they can't ever criticise themselves, so they don't see that they're doing anything wrong. And I've never 100% been convinced that that's the case.
The only trouble with the word narcissist is now that is being put onto people who are confident, who are forthright. But, because narcissism's a buzzword. A narcissist, right? Because they will try and charm you. And if they cannot charm you and you do not engage with them, they will just move on. You're dead.
Yeah. So that I was glad you said that, because that brings me back to something you mentioned earlier of all of these people, in some way, they're predatory, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they spot their target. So in the same way that someone will be attacked by an extremist group, not attacked, will be drawn in by an extremist group, or by religion, or by whatever, the person doing the searching is looking for something, and they spot it in people, or they spot that it isn't there, and you say they then move on, don't they?
Right. So yeah, but also that's exactly what happens. But also there is this, right? Are you looking for something in life, or are you providing something for somebody else in life? You're either one or the other. Yeah. And there's a lot of ground covered by that, and it's very puerile view. But look at the way that politicians today are able to communicate by making false promises. Because the country is vastly programmed to believe these people, which is getting less and less. But because they are programmed that these people can change things, they vote for them. What, sadly, the realism is that the system's broken. And whoever you vote for is always living under the shadow of the bad thing. We're still living in Shatner's? No, that's a different game. In Thatcher's shadow.
Yeah.
Because capitalism took the country away from us. They sold everything. They're buying the fucking trains back. Hold on, we owned them. They've made a shit pile of money out of selling them, then tax, then the fines they imposed, and now they're taking them back. You can't tell me that wasn't a plan all along, right? Because it's an untenable situation. Because they never got the engineers to be in the same company or room as the train drivers, as the people who laid the tracks, as the whatever. And also, as Richard Branson said, it's an untenable business model. You cannot make a profit doing this unless you control all.
All of it, yeah.
Now, controlling all is the key to that. Now, is he just a massive narcissist that needs to control everything, or is he a pragmatic businessman who can see failure where it's coming? I have no idea, because there's lots of different
He
things.
seems to get out of things, doesn't he?
Well, also, we all know the damage done by certain people who own islands where they shield themselves away. Well, he's got 2 of them. Not that I'm casting whatever your Cistercians, no, Nistercians. I'm not casting anything. I just want to understand the limitations of language, but there aren't any.
No.
There is always evolution in the spoken word, right? I'm going to look something up quickly because I've looked it up before, but it's important. There is a name, okay? So we've talked about rhetoric, right? So propaganda, sophistry.
Sophistry
is the word. And it involves using clever but deceptive arguments. Right, so sophistry is when I want to tell you something but influence you. So I'm going to bamboozle you with words, with lots of syllables that are actually saying exactly the same fucking thing. But you're a little bit enamored with somebody with a vocabulary. I mean, I live my life like this because my vocabulary is enormous. But I am able to communicate on a base level, a mid-level, and a top level to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Because I've grown up with different levels of communication. Right, sophistry, though, is understanding the limitations of the person in front of you.
Talking to you. Yeah, okay.
So I understand that when I'm talking to some people, especially people who think they are clever, yeah, I don't think I'm clever. I'm not enamored with my ability to do anything, really, because I'm quite a self-negative person. But what that does mean, it means that I'm quite grounded. So I don't need to bamboozle you with all of the words that I use. What I do need to do, though, is if I think something's important, I need to be able to portray that to you in a way that I understand and that may influence you to understanding rather than influencing you to action.
Okay.
So when we talked about doing a charity, I'm not sitting there spinning you a line about how it's going to do this, we're going to save the world, we're going to do that. We talked about truth and reality the whole way through.
Yep.
And 5 months down the line, we have a charity.
Yep.
We finally got a fucking bank account, thanks to you, Coffee and Coping, there. And also with the people around us, we're actually helping people and doing it. So I portrayed my idea to you.
Yep.
In fact, both of you guys. George is behind the camera, sorry, I forgot you can't see him. Hi, George. So I came in one day and said, look, we've been talking about loss of community for so long.
Yeah, let's build one.
Let's do it. Let's stop talking about it and do it. There becomes a time where talking stops and action happens. And if that doesn't happen, you're going to pontificate for the rest of your life. I think what's important for me to understand is that over the years, especially when I was selling drugs and drug dealing, I could talk an addict into anything. Tell you what I'll do, mate. I know you haven't got any money today. I'll sell you half an ounce, right? And then you go and deal that and make your own.
Is that not an easy audience?
Well, no,
Or is it not?
because they've got no money. So
Oh, okay.
I've got to pick out the right people and what's going on. And then, yeah, I'm going to get burnt here and there, but I'm not burnt. I can then use that leverage for them to make sure I get where I'm going. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a puerile view, isn't it? But it's when you look at the reality of communication in in directional way. I want to tell you a line that gets you to do what I want you to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done it. I've done it in my past. I have done it to people where I needed something from them and I knew that they weren't clever enough to circumvent me. I've done that. The horror show comes when you underestimate someone and then they call you on your bullshit. And then what happens? You try and swim around it. But what's best to do is just own it and go, oh, I can't manipulate. I can't make you do what I want you to do. But so can you just fucking do it?
Yeah.
And then at least you can have a row and be honest. But yeah, I mean, sophistries are interesting. So, you know, there are plenty of people who, because they think they're clever, right? They come at you from a higher plane.
Yeah.
So, you know, so people will turn around and say to you, yeah, but what you need to do is you come and see me and I'll do this and we'll go through that. And I'm like, hold on a minute. This is my business. Yeah. This is my life. I'm not going to meet you in my office and tell you what you're going to give for me, right? I've had that recently.
It's down to the words, isn't it? When people say what you need to do is, they've lost me straight away. What you need to do.
I'll tell you what, actually, what you need to do is shut the fuck up and get away from me before you get hurt. Right, so, yeah, okay, case in point, as you probably know, I work for a charity that helps addicts get based, get supported, not necessarily get clean, but then put certain parameters and boundaries in life so they can function. I went into another charity that facilitates addiction and release from addiction and addictive behaviour. And was shown the most obtuse abuse of perceived power. So these people come from the fact that, oh, we're helping people, we'll do this, and, you know, you should be grateful. Right, nice. I'll let you into something. Addicts aren't grateful about fuck all, unless you're giving them drugs. Right? But what you can do is you can kind of understand that they're looking to get out, but sometimes it's not going to happen. So you just got to keep riding that roller coaster. But this person was telling me, well, what you have to understand is, and I'm like, okay. Well. And I let him dig his own hole. He said, what you have to understand is when you've been doing this as long as I have, and I'm like, oh my Christ. You have to know that engagement is all. And I said, is that right? Okay, well, I'm 51. I'm an abstinent addict, been abstinent for 15 years. And he went, oh, yeah, likewise. I went, oh, really? Trying to relate to me now? Okay, because you know you've lost me. So then what I said was, fine. So if you're trying to get your client to engage, you've just dismissed them while they're in the room, said that they're not engaging, even though this person has just had 5 different interviews this week about the situation they're in. They phoned you every single time they've missed a meeting or are going to, but you haven't written it on your computer system. So you put him in the corner of a room and make him look foolish in front of me, thinking I will just take it because I am so very grateful for this organisation helping my client. That didn't happen. So what actually happened was I turned around and said, I do not give a shit who you are, right? Also, if we're not going to be professional, you are never going to win this, right? So understand this. My client who stood in the corner listening to you deface him, yeah, he needs to go into the group, yeah? And you need to engage with me and we'll sort out a plan. And he said, it doesn't work. What you have to understand, and I said, right, if you say that one more time, right? And he said, oh, what, you're going to get violent? I said, why would there be violence? I'm a professional. Why would you walk into that? So stop trying to belittle me and understand that client is all for me in this room. You people don't matter. And he was like, oh, well, yeah. And then looked a bit crestfallen. And I said, I know you're enamoured with your sobriety. Congratulations. It's a huge thing. Stop sicking that onto the other clients. Help them get where they're going. To be brutally honest, I've only been a drug worker for what? Couple of months?
3 months.
Yeah. I don't give a shit. I've lived my whole life in that situation. And what revolts me is that addicts, abstinent or not, who are in this, going, I know all about it, I know what they need, are so fucking enamoured with their own ability to hold the reins on people who are struggling, that their communication comes from a point of certainty that they are absolutely right and absolutely able to treat people like shit.
Yeah, they seem to have lost their way, haven't they?
Is that not horrifying? Okay. But communication, you see, his communication towards me, if he'd have come in and said, look, I'm really struggling with this guy because he's not committing. And I'll say, well, yeah, but he's committing to me and he's done this and that.
Yeah.
And there's a dialogue and we get enthused about helping people.
Yeah.
Not, I've been doing this so long, I'm so fucking jaded, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about anymore. Right? This is what's wrong with establishment. It's what's wrong with the charitable world, right? Which I am fully immersed in. Right, I am going to be on a committee with a vicar, I'll have you know.
Excellent.
That's how far down this road I have become, which I'm enjoying because it's great. Yeah. But when you are trying genuinely to help people, and I'm not the new kid enthused by newness, I'm a realist.
You sure?
I'm absolutely positive.
Because there are people that have done it a lot longer than you, Jim.
Well, right. I know, but what you have to understand, it's funny. It's not funny. It's horrific. We are going to move on in another show onto a thing called the Black Bible, right? Which is the football coach just arrived full of fans. Yeah, which is weird because okay, never mind. So the Black Bible, right?
Yeah.
13th century document, which is enormous. It's 8.7 inches thick, something like 30 inches tall, right? And it's made of
my size then.
Well, yeah. Oh God. And it's made of vellum. Do you know what vellum is?
Vellum?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what vellum is.
Okay, it's paper made out of skin.
Oh, nice.
Sometimes human, in this case, donkey. I shit you not. This book, right? This book and its communications and its way of speaking and its values, its values are seen as so damaging and so controlling. It is locked away in the British Museum, right? Like laser locked. You can't get near it, you'll trip a laser lock, right? People have said they've been in the room and they hear whispering and all that, but they didn't know that the book was there. So that it's not, oh yeah, this wicked world book's fucking talking to me. They didn't know it was in the room. And, you know, it's scary that can be seen as a form of communication because that's all it is. It's words on donkey skin. That's really bizarre. Right, vellum also, if you read like the Dan Brown books, you know, vellum is human skin and it's written in these controlling books are all like that. If you read John Connolly's book, there's this Bible that everyone's looking for to get pages of, and it's all made out of human skin. And over the course of like 12 books, you find out what's happening. So this is obviously an author's consciousness. It's a real thing. And the only people who have access to this book are high-end government players in MI5 or MI6. Okay? So communication on a written level is seen as dangerous enough to hide away. Communication on a level of selling things that aren't worth a shit, that level of communication is enabling people to become rich on the stupidity of others. Perceived stupidity, but still, that's what it's seen as. My communication to you here is to entertain the people watching us.
Yeah.
And if communication is all things, then why, as human beings who communicate every single day, do we not know every nuance of communication and how to manipulate it?
Because only certain people study it, surely.
Yeah, but also only some people are allowed to get to a position in society where they understand all nuances. I haven't got a fucking clue. You know, I don't understand it. I understand a bit more than others because I am interested by it.
I guess there's a lot of inherent trust that shouldn't be there, isn't there? A lot of people trust the system, don't they?
Trust the system, trust the state.
Trust society.
Right. We may well, when somebody watches this, be seen as a danger to society because we question it.
Yeah,
I'm not questioning society. I'm telling you the system of society is broken. Right? And I think I'm justified in that. In as much as that, look at the poverty difference. Look at, you know, the balance of transfer of money through the, you know, certain pandemics that have gone on that we're not allowed to talk about. You know, all of that, all of the infrastructure of communication is limited to us because if we say something real, there may be consequences.
Well, look at YouTube, look at Facebook, look at all these things. You say something you're not supposed to say, you're shut down.
Yeah.
Fact checkers.
Fact checkers.
And all that.
Not fat checkers.
No.
Fact
Fact.
check. Okay. So it's not a large game of drafts. That
Correct.
was a tangent. Sorry, man.
But all of that stuff, you know. So who's to say what you can and can't say? What happened to free speech? We want to go down the free speech thing?
No, because we've already hit 40 minutes, so we're going to have to finish.
Oh, okay.
But I think freedom of speech is something that we have to look at. Okay, because freedom of speech is fine as long as you don't say anything that's bad.
That someone has decided whether it's right.
So, and then you say that thing on Twitter, which is an opinion, however misguided or wrong, you're now arrested for that, and you banged up for it. The guy got banged up. And Elon Musk is going, oh, well, you know, bloody social media, getting arrested for it in England. It was on your fucking platform, son. As I said earlier. Communication is the key to all things. If you are struggling with family members, you may just not realise how to communicate with them. If you're struggling with work colleagues, it's usually that you speak a different language or you are a different colour. Remember, I'm not talking about race, I'm talking about his thing, you know. Race is another thing as well, you know. In a very real way, different races can't talk to each other because they have a different perception of life, a different way of talking, and a different nuance of language. So you might be able to speak somebody's language, but you might not understand the nuances of what they're saying to you.
Yeah, the medium of conversation, communication, rather, is vitally important. So many people fall out with each other because of texting each other.
Right, text messages. Jesus. How many times have you got a text message that is completely innocuous, but you're in a bad mood and you've gone, are you fucking sure you want to say that? And all of a sudden you've got a miniature dirt war because you've decided to take what they've said wrong. I've done it 100 times.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you now, I have done it. I have actually phoned people and said, what did you just write? Yeah. And they went, mate, I asked you how your day was going. Are you all right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that's good. I just wanted to clarify. Cheers, mate. Fucking hell, phone in the bin. Right. All I'm saying to you is, if you find yourself in a situation where you're struggling or there's conflict, then take a step back and ask what's really happening. Am I really having a row? Am I misunderstanding? Or is the bloke in front of me such a dick that he doesn't know how to portray his way over? And if that's the case, well then, you know, deal with it. Nuances of language are so important, but also quite hard to fully grasp. So like I say, when you're communicating, understand that people have different ways of looking at things. Try and be kind, try and understand, but if you can't, you can't. So back away from it. 15 Coping, we'll see you next time.